Well, welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast. I am your host, Rashida McFerren, and today in the Rich Auntie Life series, we are picking up where we left off. I want to say it was 4 months ago. What's up, y'all? It has been a very long minute. I took a break, and it started off as being me taking a break for the summer, and it just turned into an extended break because I had a lot of stuff going on in my life that I needed to get a handle on. And as y'all know, life be lifing. Okay. 2025 has just been a heck of a year. I don't know how else to say that. So I took some time for myself because number one, I mentioned earlier that I was grieving the loss of my father. And then that has been a whole process in and of itself that's taken up way more energy emotionally that I could possibly imagine over the course of this year. And it's pretty much had like a cloud over the year because, as I mentioned, he died in January, the day after his birthday. And so it kind of set the tone in a sense, even though I've tried with every fiber of my being for it not being the tone of the year. And just stuff just kept happening, right? And so we're here. We started school just like everybody else in August. Um, got stuff going on with that I got to get straightened out. We are in my son's last year of school. We have some adjustments that I need to make in regards to the way his education is transpiring, and I'll talk about that in a more specifically dedicated episode to that specific topic. I am in the middle of interview season. I started taking on serious interviews at the beginning of July, uh, transitioning back into corporate full time, and I have yet to found a role that is a 100% match. And I'm going to be truthfully honest, I don't know that I'm going to find a role that's a 100% match. At this point, I am shooting for 80 to 95%, and then the rest will work out its way on its own. But I am interviewing for enterprise risk management director roles, and it has been a process and a journey. And the goal is to have something closed by the end of November, but definitely no later than 12/31 because we're heading into the new year and starting off everything fresh for January 2026. And so I have to be in the role, and then there's transition that comes with the role because there's the possibility of relocating that is a part of the package as well. A lot is going on. Still running my business on the side, but I've moved into more of a functioning role with the business because I have other stuff that's taking priority right now that needs to be focused on. So the business is still there. I am transitioning a lot of things out of the business. I am eliminating a lot of things that I don't need. One of the things that I have realized over the last 2.5 years, 2 years to 2.5 years of running the business is that the gag of feeling like you don't know what you're doing when you're starting a business and then going to quote unquote find help because somebody has made millions of dollars in doing it is like a scam. Like, as I'm looking back over the last 2 years, the amount of money that I spent on coaching and quote unquote investing in myself, I'm not going to say that it didn't work, but I'm going to say a lot of that stuff ended up being a waste of money, and that I initially ended up going back to doing what I was doing before I invested in the programs that were supposed to teach me how to make 7, 8 figures overnight. I questioned it going in, and I questioned whether or not the way that they were presenting the material was logical. And the reality is that and I've talked about this earlier in in earlier episodes, I've talked about where you're stepping into somebody's business and the view of what you see is the perfection that they're putting on for the show. It is literally a show at this point in the game. Like where we are in this digital game, people project these images onto this public stage and they make it look perfect and they make it look like they got there overnight. And coming from the finance perspective of me knowing that you don't build businesses overnight like that, and there are rare instances where things are like an overnight success. And again, I'm going to say, as I've said and stated before, for the ones who throw their hat in the game and then it turns out overnight into a seven-figure business, I love that for you. I love that for you. I love that for your business. I love that for the impact that it has in your life and the lives of the people who are consumers in your business. But for the rest of us who have to work and grind to get ahead, life tends to go a little differently, right? And so while we may make it look easy, I've talked about this before as well, there's nothing easy about building a life of success that has longevity that goes on into generations, the next generation. And again, like I've said before, I keep saying this, right? And I know this just from living the life that I live now. I know this as of being a benefactor from my ancestors and how they built their lives so that we can benefit from it, even if we didn't physically get to benefit from it from, I guess, a financial standpoint, but you still get the lessons. Well, I know I do. I did. Still get the lessons from what they were trying to pass down in generations, the next generations. But it's just not done overnight. And so you have to be prepared financially to go into building businesses and entrepreneurship with a solid backing from number one, yourself. And then number two, get investors. And I would say this again, I will say this to anybody. Like you need to be pitching the moment you know that you are starting a business, you need to be pitching and finding investors and understanding that you're going to be giving up a portion of your business in order for them to invest money in it, in order for you to be successful, because you cannot build a business on your own. And I was stuck for a very long time in this. I want to do it by myself. I got to do it by myself to prove to myself that I can do it. And I had gotten that energy from another founder who stated that in one of her, I feel like an interview that I saw, and I identified with it so much because that is the version of me from the past, the independence of conquering something on your own and quote unquote DIYing it just to say or prove that you are that much more of a I'm going to not say that, of a baddie. Because you did it by yourself. You ain't proving nothing to nobody other than working yourself into the ground and burning out and running your health into the ground. And so younger Rashida would have been like, girl, go. But Rashida now is like, what are you doing? Give me a sec to revamp and build a team. Okay. Now, with us being in the age of AI, the dawning of AI, I understand that there will be one woman, one man companies that pop up that you won't need a team because you can just have AI do the work for you. But for those instances where AI falls short, you still need human touch. And so you'll still have like two or three people to help you run your business. And so as we transition, or me, as I transition back into full-time corporate, it's a completely different animal. Um, One of the main things that I'm focusing on is that, I'm in the final phase of my career. So technically in April of next year, 20 years. And so my goal is to get probably a good 10 more years in. And so I'm looking to be done around 55. Okay. Let the next gen take over. heck, the next gen pretty much taking over now, but I mean, I know I'm not done. I'll know when I'm done, right? Um, and so the point of where I am now and how I'm building from this perspective is a little different considering I'm on the latter end of this timeline in the way I charted our paths. And when I say I charted our paths, I'm talking about my life plan that I have with me and my son on it, and how we move through life and how we check off things as we accomplish those things and get things done. And those phases of our lives come to an end and we transition into something else. And so I just want to be mindful of the fact that, yes, I have assets that are outside of my main corporate job. I may be taking time away from those assets, but I won't be retiring them all the way. But my focus going forward will be back on my director role in whatever capacity or company that I am taking on. Because as I stated when I started the beginning of the journey, is that I wasn't finished with my corporate career, but I did need a break because I was burnt out. You go for so long on the same path and run yourself into the ground. And like I said, as I mentioned previously, in 2018, when my health started taking a turn for the worse, when I went hyperactive with my thyroid, like that was the first like signal. And then the second one was, I think, the car accident a year later after coming back from leave of taking care of my thyroid. I hadn't been back at work a good month. And I we are done with the case and settled now, but I think back to that day and I had left work downtown Dallas. I couldn't have been in a more unlucky position because I literally was just the receiving end of an accident. I was just sitting at a red light and a car came crashing into mine. And so that caused some injuries with my back and the upper and lower parts of my back. And so that has been a part of my journey as well. And then in 2023, I had my whole thyroid removed, which is was definitely something that needed to happen. And so, like I said, we are just in a place of transitioning and going to the next level in life. I'm just wanting to touch base and touch back in because it's been a minute. In regards to my digital footprint, what is to come will be some changes. Um, I am getting rid of a lot of the websites that I paid for 5 years. And even though I had SEO built into them, they didn't bring in barely 5 leads other than spam. And so for right now, I've taken Rashida.ai down. I've taken Rashida the Realtor down. Tired of paying Wix just to have a footprint that's not even working. And what I am focusing on is keeping my digital footprint active with the social media channels that I do have. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and my podcast. And then I will be adding just a regular blog, like I'm taking it back old school, like when I first started blogging back in 2010. And I'm just going to use that blog for now. Um, but a lot to come. The main page right now that I'm using is beacons. Rashida, wait, what is it? Beacons.ai, Rashida McFerren, and I have my stuff on there. Rashida AI is still going to be a thing. I just need to figure out how to transition it forward and where I'm going from there with Rashida AI. And so until I get that sound into place, we're just, like I said, I'm removing the website for right now. All my offerings, as far as my courses and my freebies, can be found on my Beacons AI page. And so that's it for right now. I just wanted to touch quick base because I have been off for the last 3 to 4 months. I hope everyone is doing well. I will be maintaining my newsletter. I will be hopefully extending my newsletter. My newsletter has grown to around 8,000. people. And so that is something that's working very well. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it for right now. I just wanted to touch base. Happy Halloween. Happy All Souls Day that's coming up next week as we transition into the holiday season. Like I said, I will keep in touch and do much better going into the last 2 months of the year because I love the holidays and get back to a better posting schedule in regards to producing the podcast. That is all for today. It's a quick, shorty episode. Please, as always, leave a 5-star review if anything you've heard at any point in our journey is something that you've enjoyed. Share a 5-star review in Apple or Spotify, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.